This is a model diesel engine starter. Now I know it says Mark 3 but it's Mark 4. This is because I printed this out before doing some further modifications. So the actions are press this sort of safety button in here, that springs up and there's like a ratchet mechanism in here. And that's clicking on the ratchet. You might see it moving up and down there. We can take about 4 or 5 full turns I think, but I can feel it. It's got like a clockwork spring inside, so you wind it up just like a clockwork spring, and that's, I can feel it there. That don't force it. It doesn't want to go. It, you know, won't go any further. Keep your fingers back behind the plate, stick it on the propeller, pull the knob back, and that's got quite a bit of power in that. So remember to click the button, safety button, like quick to almost like turn both against each other in a way, both these things against each other, and that's against that. A couple more just to show you. From that direction. This one, so you put that onto the model diesel engine. That is a proper model diesel engine sort of starter, rubber type, well, hard rubber type thing that will come out there if you need to replace it. Put that on the model diesel engine. Bit of oil still on this. So you see, so no batteries needed, no wires basically. I'll try and show this in slow motion. Okay, I'll put the camera for this. Right, I've drilled out these two 3.5, these are for 4mm balls, and the smaller ones to 2.5, so that's drilled out to 2.5, and this is 4mm bolt. I sort of line it up, get it started a bit. Just find the Allen key I think it'll fit here. Now I do sort of recommend the cap head bolts because the Allen key actually fits in very well as opposed to button headed bolts, which can be a bit iffy if you ask my opinion, which I do like the button headed bolts. And so I'm basically like turning this round, screwing it in, and then every so often I'm coming back a bit, like about a quarter of a turn, a bit like when you tap metal or whatever, but this is just a normal bolt, pretty much normal threads, no tap on this. It takes a bit of effort, so to speak, to screw it in, and basically give it a turn or two, come back a little bit, go forward. That's just to clean off any possible swarf that might be going down, same as you would with a tap actually. So going forward a bit like this. I don't know if I can get this all in, not without moving the camera. Come back a bit, go forward, but gradually, and then you probably feel what if it hits the bottom, because the resistance will, like there, I can feel that now. That's hit the bottom of here. It's been printed, so to speak. This is done at 100% infill, this one, because we want it to be strong. It's got these like pawls here for gripping on a ratchet. So it's pretty much exactly the same, oops, for the 3mm. So that's for, that one's for either end, but this is 3. It's just the same for 3, except it's drilled out to 2.5, and then again a cap head bolt, a 3mm, basically, if you like, forced in, pushed in, and I found that to be pretty successful. So I'm unscrewing it now. I'll do the same the other end. So that leaves like threads in the plastic. I don't know. Might you see the teeth or the threads there actually. Okay, then you can, it's a bit easier now to get a bolt in there once the threads are in a way cut. So I'm just going to make sure it's going pretty straight. So see the back turn there, about a quarter of a turn or so, half a turn maybe at the most, just to make sure any swarf isn't getting tangled up. I'll finish off there. That's what I do with all the bolts I need to do, depending on the size. 3.5 for the 4mm bolts and 2.5 for the 3mm bolts. Okay. So this is the body here, this big part. This is like a lock and key. I'll talk about that a bit later. It'll only go in one way, almost shape of a house there with a roof on. That also helps stop the need for like supports on all of it. I do supports on the build plate only. There's a hole in the bottom, you see, for oil. Right, we remove that for now. And first of all, I'm going to put the spring in. So here's some information about this spring. Clockwork type of spring. Now be reasonably careful with these springs because they do store quite a bit of energy. And obviously you want to make sure, absolutely sure, you're putting it in the right way around. Just a second. Let's pass phone down there. That way is the wrong way. We can tell here by this end in here that that's going to go in there basically. So gradually keep my thumb on here to keep this pushed down. Watching the other end all the time to make sure it doesn't spring into the face or something. I mean, these edges on this spring aren't too sharp, but you might have to watch some springs. So gradually just pushing more and more on the inside, pushing down with this thumb here a little bit, but that doesn't take a lot, and guiding the spring in. This is the hard part here because this is sticking up, keeping hold of it. There we are. So that's in there reasonably well. Now to line this up, I did show you in the other video for an earlier model, but I'll show you in this one. I use long nose pliers and again keep my thumb on top. I can actually move this round, put those fingers there, trying to show you that. So that's a line up that hole. Okay, you see that's the hole in the end of the clockwork spring there. That lines up with that threaded hole, again drilled out to 2.5 and a bolt, like pushed in and took back out. And then I'm going to pour a bolt in there. Now I'll do that off camera a bit. So there I'm starting to get this screw, this bolt in. I should call it a bolt really, it's not a screw. Excuse me, some sniffles. This is a flanged button headed bolt I'm using here. And there we are, there's a flange bolt on there with a washer on it, and like the peg thing is going through the hole. I mean, normally this will stop in here, the spring, but you still want to take a bit of care. And on the bottom I've got these 20mm that outside diameter, 4mm on the inside, penny washers they're known as, and just a normal 4mm washer on a 4mm bolt here. I'll start this off on here, start it up by hand. I think this is the this is a button headed. Now this is basically what this key is for, mainly for, is you can, otherwise you're going against, well, either with this spring or against the spring. I'm going to pop this in here, it goes under the spring. Feel for the hole in, there we are, took a bit down, but because it's not like totally in line there, but that locks this from turning to a certain extent, keeps some pressure on there, and we can start screwing it in. This is a pretty long bolt, this actually, this 4mm bolt here. So I'm going to put this in, no sorry, we want to put the spring in first. There is a indent in the bottom of here, and there's a indent in this sort of pawl type thing here. So obviously the spring wants to sit in those two indents. Just going to drop that in. Want to make sure this is going the right way around, and then this does have this, I think that's a ball point, off a ball point, that spring there. It's like a safety type catch type thing. Try and get that spring into the indent in here. There's a bit of grease on here, on this. Press that button in, push down, and it will latch See how that's latched there. Now I'm going to keep my finger on here so that it doesn't spring totally out. Yeah, I need to line that spring up. I'll line that up off camera and get it into the indent there. Okay, the only thing that's holding this in there is this, like, it's like a safety latch type thing that you'll have to press that. Put this well, almost knob type thing on here. I'll screw that on, I'll do it off camera. Okay, there's the knob on. Carefully, because you want to make sure that doesn't spring out. Right, then we have a left one of these and a right one. So the bump, the extra thickness there goes downwards, and then it's on the right hand side when you have this sort of knob facing towards us. Likewise with the left one, line them up somewhere near. Then we can put this top on here, and then there's 4 balls, 3mm balls to go in each of the holes, lining up through the holes in these and into the base. Well, before I put this, I've got that other one bolted in there, but before I put this other one on, I'm going to put a bit of this lithium grease I've got. Okay, put that in there, line it up somewhere near. Make sure the ball's going through all the so that's like the support for that pawl type thing in the middle. Right, I'll tighten up these balls, then I'll come back. So this is what they call a button headed board, and you see that's quite shallow how much the Allen key has to go in there, as opposed to like a cup headed Allen board. So the cup headed, if you can use them, are probably better because they give more grip to the Allen thing. There we are, 4 of the Allen boards put in now. Snug them up reasonably well. And basically this goes on here. Yeah, this is Mark 3 on here, but it is Mark 4 the unit. But before I do that, I'm going to put quite a bit of grease on these like teeth here, and almost on the pawl that grips in here. This sort of pawl, this pawl here, that is. There's another pawl here. Okay, so I want some grease on that. Should these out the way a bit. So there we are, some dollops of grease on that. Now this you might have to turn it a bit to get it to like almost squeeze these 2 like pawls on here inwards. Let me just spread that out a little bit there. Right, now we're going to put a screw with one of those normal 4mm bolt, normal washer, penny washer, That screws in into the top there. I'll do that off camera. Again, we need to use this because it gets on the spring as you're trying to tighten that up. And this does go into, there is a like indent in the central part that this will go into. So keep on pressing that as I'm turning it. Screwing the bolt in off, I think. Right. So, oh, it is turning on the back. I think we have to turn it like half a turn on. So that's reasonably tight on there. See, that's rubbing. Let's take this out. Basically I would test it now. Grease on that. So we release the safety button here. That springs up. And that will be spreading the grease about, hopefully. Don't just give it a few turns to start off with. Slide, keep your fingers behind the safety plate here. Yep, that's okay. And every time we want to use it, we have to remember to release this safety cap. So I think it's about 8 half turns, that's about 4 or 5 turns maybe altogether. Quite a bit of power there. Then we want this this device, this is like a proper rubber starter thing for a model diesel engine. 4 4mm balls to bolt into these 4 holes here. Okay, 4 M4, well in my case, button headed bolts, and they do go quite deep into here, so to speak. I'm gonna just drop a bit of oil right down the middle, a few drops down there. Roll that about a bit. Okay, same on the bottom here. And squirt a bit of oil in there. Pour that in. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this edge here. This side as well, I think. Because this edge does rub against here a bit. Seems wipe off some excess with this old towel I have. I'll put this on the front of this video, it actually turning, so you can see it turning. I won't bother putting it on the back end. Wipe off some of that excess oil, remembering I do have grease in here. Okay, so the action is press the button on the side. This bit loose, I need to get that tightened up. I'm doing it after. That springs up the spring, the ratchet type thing. You can see how that's clicking round on the teeth there. I'll just do one here. I'll do a couple at the front of the video, I think. So I can turn it quite a bit, but there's a point where don't force it because I can feel that that's as tight as it's going to want to go basically. Now keep your fingers well out the way, keep them behind the sort of disc here. I'll feel the oil splashing all over the place there, fine mist of it I think. Okay, so that's that. I'm looking for testers of this with a real diesel engine, model diesel engine obviously. The idea there is, you know, you wind it up, you stick it on a diesel engine, get started. Right, I'm finishing off there. This is the back end, I'll just show you around. Still need to tighten that, get that tightened up. And if you want, you can keep this, well, keep it anyway for if you have to undo the bolts, because as I say, if you're unscrewing the bolts, they're going around on a spring basically. But you could keep it as a extra safety type thing. Hear that click in there, and then basically it's not going to turn too much, I don't think. It won't turn that way. Oh, that's clicking around on the ratchet inside. Let that click a couple of times to spread that grease about actually. But that locks this shaft so you can unscrew the screws basically. But you could have it as an extra sort of safety thing. And once it gets in there, it can be a bit stiff. Right, finish off there. So this is Mark 4, although it does say Mark 3 there. This is off the Mark 3 model, this part. It is what I'm terming as Mark 4. Right, I'll get that tightened up. I'll put this on the front end of the video.